Tonight, we begin with something Washington almost never sees. A sitting president facing a formal bipartisan demand to resign not just from political opponents, but from members of his own party. This is not symbolic. It is not political theater. And it is not something designed to quietly fade away. 47 members of Congress, including 16 Republicans, have now publicly called for Donald Trump to step down. And the reason they're giving is not ideology or policy disagreement. It is national security. When Republican committee chairs are willing to put their names on a resignation demand against a president from their own party, it tells you something extraordinary has happened. According to multiple congressional sources, this moment was triggered by a leaked classified memo, a document reviewed inside secure facilities by members of key congressional committees. That memo, according to those who have seen it, alleges that military operations were delayed for political reasons while sensitive national security missions were underway. Sources say the memo describes instructions to hold up critical defense authorizations until senior military commanders publicly aligned themselves with certain political positions. If accurate, this is not a routine policy dispute. This is the use of national defense as leverage for political loyalty. Members of Congress do not casually demand a president's resignation. These calls do not happen over messaging disagreements or partisan fights. They happen when lawmakers believe a president has violated the core responsibilities of the office. And according to multiple reports, that is exactly how members of the House Armed Services and Foreign Affairs Committees interpreted what they read. On December 27th, a bipartisan group of lawmakers, 31 Democrats and 16 Republicans, held an emergency closed-door meeting after reviewing the memo. Reporters briefed on that meeting say a Republican committee chairman told colleagues the evidence was incontrovertible and that remaining silent would make them complicit. A senior Democrat on armed services described the contents as a clear abuse of power that endangered national security. By the end of that meeting, the group drafted a formal letter demanding immediate resignation. Released publicly on December 28th, the letter accuses the president of violating constitutional duties as commander-in-chief by subordinating military readiness to personal political objectives. The language is blunt. It warns that American lives were placed at risk, that military readiness was compromised, and that the trust of service members was betrayed. Then came the moment that sent shockwaves through Washington. A Republican committee chairman, someone who had previously defended the president, stood on the House floor and read the resignation demand aloud. Reporters in the chamber say his voice shook. He described himself as a military veteran, as someone who had supported the president, and as someone who could no longer remain silent if evidence showed politics placed above troop safety. That moment mattered, because once members of a president's own party lead the accountability effort, claims of partisan witch hunts collapse. We have seen moments like this before, rarely. Richard Nixon faced mounting pressure when Republicans privately told him he had lost their support during Watergate. He resigned days later. Bill Clinton faced resignation calls, but they never gained bipartisan traction because national security was not implicated. Even during Trump's first impeachment, Republicans largely stayed united. This time, they did not. According to legal and military experts briefed on the document, the memo alleges direct instructions to delay authorization for 3 separate military operations involving time-sensitive intelligence and force protection. The authorizations were allegedly withheld until certain generals agreed to appear at campaign events. That is not strategy, that is leverage. Legal scholars warn that if military operations can be delayed until generals provide political endorsements, civilian control of the military becomes corrupted. A former assistant attorney general stated publicly that if the allegations are accurate, the president violated fundamental duties of the office. A former federal prosecutor noted this could implicate laws banning the use of government resources for campaign purposes. Even conservative legal analysts acknowledged the seriousness of the allegations. Republicans now face an impossible choice: defend actions their own leaders say endangered troops, or break with a base that views any criticism as betrayal. There is no safe middle ground, and the party is fracturing in real time. Rather than addressing the substance of the allegations, the president responded with fury, attacking Republicans who signed the letter, calling it a hoax, and blaming intelligence agencies. Legal analysts immediately pointed out the problem. If the allegations are false, why the rage? Why not refute the evidence? The reaction only intensified scrutiny. More Republicans are now reviewing the memo. Some are considering adding their names to the resignation demand. Legal teams are focusing on the leak rather than the allegations. And military families across the country are watching closely, because this is not just about politics. It is about whether national defense serves the country or a campaign. So this is where we are tonight. 47 members of Congress, including Republicans, have taken the extraordinary step of demanding a sitting president resign over alleged interference with military operations. That is not normal. It is not routine. And it is not something that fades quietly. This is a constitutional crisis unfolding in real time, and what happens next will tell us whether accountability still exists, even at the highest level of power.